Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Oh Shoot. We have a guest on the podcast today. These are our favorite episodes. I'm joined by Sabrina Patterson. Sabrina, why don't you say hi to everyone, give everyone the lowdown on who you are and what you do.
Hi guys, I'm Sabrina. I am the owner of the Turning Page Photo Co. I am a photographer based out of Pensacola, Florida. I do international weddings. I document small families and, of course, people that are in love. That's my niche. And I also do a lot of branding and web design and mentorships for people as well. And I'm just kind of obsessed with my job.
Yeah. Oh, so you don't just do photography, you also do brand work as well.
Yes. Yeah. I've been stepping more into it recently. It really just started out with mentorships. And then slowly it's becoming more into branding, and I'm starting to find passion in that as well. Um,
Okay.
so it's been really fun lately, kind of venturing out a little bit.
Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like it does tie in really well with like the whole industry. Like branding is a really big part of like photographers' businesses and stuff. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a really fun time rebranding myself, and it became like very obsessive. So being able to do it for other people has been so much fun because we get to learn about each other so much, and like basically I get to visualize what I feel like they look like and like what their soul looks like. That sounds so corny, but like that's really how it is. I feel like that's how your brand should be, is like a reflection of yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm like, it's really cool whenever I hit it like right, like hit the nail on the head with them too. I'm like, oh wow, I really did do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
loving branding for sure.
Yeah. That's really fun. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about like how you got into the industry in general, like your whole story, how you got started in photography and everything?
Yes. So me and my husband, we lived in Alaska. It was in 2017. We moved to Alaska, and whenever I got there, I'm like, who doesn't want to, take pictures in somewhere that beautiful?
Right.
So got a camera, just like a cheap little DSLR, and I had done photography before then. Whenever I was a kid, I was the child in the dirt with my camera, my little tiny baby Canon, and my little point and shoot. And I was always taking photos. And whenever I was a kid, I always said I wanted to be a photographer. But it didn't really seem like it stuck with me as I grew older. But then when we moved to Alaska, I was like, wait a minute, this is like an old passion of mine that like I feel like I want to pursue. So it started with the nature photography, wildlife stuff, and I was working a 9 to 5. I was just really a miserable person, to be quite honest. I just kind of felt like I was not on the right path in life. So I started to branch out into taking photos of humans, and very quickly realized that I should not be working a 9 to 5, that I'm supposed to be doing creative work. And it went from taking photos of like just like my friends, and then that turned into couples and families and everything like that. Along the way, I really started to realize, you know that I'm not a traditional photographer, though, that I was definitely someone that should have like an out of the box brand. And it took me a few years to get there, but my starting point was like very typical, I feel like, honestly. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy where I'm at now for sure.
Yeah. So what did your transition to full-time photography look like then? Like, was it just like you knew right away, like you just dropped everything and risked it, or did you wait until a certain point?
So that, oh my gosh. So I told you about the 9 to 5. Um, Literally did not love that, of course. And then I started doing college classes, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try to be like in the vet field. So I started to do college classes. Still, it didn't feel right for me. I continued through, I powered through. I continued to work another 9 to 5. I actually got fired from that one. And then I started actually working for a family member, and unfortunately dealt with a lot of financial abuse. So that was pretty mentally challenging. I went through a lot. And luckily, I was able to remove myself from that situation, move forward. But whenever that happened, it was kind of my breaking point of like, I can't do this. I need to just try this. I need to try to advertise and, try to get clients. And then it happened really, really fast after that. And then I was having shoots every week, and it really happened quickly. But I remember my first wedding that I took on, I literally shot for $200.
Yeah.
And but that's where you start. That's where we've all been. But it's been almost 7 years now that I've been doing this. So it's really cool to reflect back on little me.
Yeah, it is crazy. I feel like sometimes the years like fly by when you've been doing photography for that long. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, it's just crazy to think that like when I first started, like I had no idea what it would become. It was almost just like you just did it for fun, and then all of
Yeah,
a sudden it's been your job, and it's so cool. So
yeah.
it's cool to hear your story and kind of hear that side of it. Tell me a little bit more about you living in Alaska, and then you just told me before we started recording that you live in Florida, but you're moving to Pittsburgh. Kind of tell me about that, and tell me about how it is like moving your business so much.
Yeah, obviously used to moving at this point, but my husband is in the Air Force. So, but he's getting out. That is why we're moving to Pittsburgh. That's actually where we're both from. And we have a 6-year-old daughter, and we really want her to be around family. She deserves that. That's what I want her childhood to be, is like around family. Being military family, we don't have that, you know? So, really excited to relocate back there. But going back from moving from Alaska to Florida was the hardest thing for me as a business, because I feel like whenever I lived in Alaska and I was transitioning to Florida, I wasn't at the point where I really knew who I was as a business. And I did feel like I was still kind of stuck in this like kind of traditional flow.
Yeah.
Um, I felt very people pleasy.
Okay.
And I feel like back then, 4 or 5 years ago, I really was just kind of taking whatever, not setting boundaries, not focusing on an ideal client situation. So when we moved to Florida, I felt like I wanted to quit. I actually started taking some marketing courses, like just little tiny ones. I did a couple from Jai Long,
Hmm.
and it opened my eyes to like the importance of branding, the importance of like, really showing who I am, rather than just being like a traditional photographer, because I'm not traditional in the slightest.
Yeah.
But once I started to kind of transition into that, it's like everything fell into place, and I was like, oh my god, like this is what I was missing the whole time, this is where I should have been. And then business got so incredible so fast, and that's kind of how that went. But relocating is extremely hard unless, you have a good foundation.
Hmm. How were you able to find clients in like all these areas that you're moving? Because I feel like with photography and weddings, do you do
Mm.
weddings? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
With what I just assumed that you did weddings. Like
Yeah.
with weddings, people book pretty far in advance. So like, how
Yeah.
were you able to move and still maintain that, or were you able to, or how were you finding those clients? Kind of walk me through all of that.
Instagram, baby. Instagram,
Okay.
Instagram, all the Instagram. I feel like 90% of my clients come through Instagram. It seems like hashtags are a really big source for clients to find me.
Hmm.
And word of mouth, of course, too. Whenever you're moving, though, word of mouth really isn't beneficial, but I travel so much with weddings that it's kind of easier.
Okay, so you feel like Instagram was like a really big thing for you for finding clients. Do you feel like have you ever tried like SEO or anything like other than just Instagram, or like do you just feel like Instagram works for you and that's it?
I feel like Instagram is my main source. SEO is another really big thing
Okay.
for sure, but it does definitely seem like Instagram is the winner here. Um,
Yeah.
I do feel like location tags also help a lot too.
Okay. Like on
But
Instagram?
yeah, like whenever you like geotag.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so like before, this is a big thing with the relocating, was I was still in Alaska, but I was geotagging for Florida, like the
Yeah.
area that I was supposed to be in, and I did that for months. I did it for months. So whenever I did get to Florida, I had already started having inquiries coming in, which was
Okay.
really cool. And then I like I did a lot on Facebook during that time just to kind of like have a bigger audience because it was a little harder for Instagram during that time. And that was really helpful in like building traction, gaining attention. Then the Instagram following from Florida really started getting up there. But yeah, it was a slow and hard process for sure. But and like I said, I really wanted to give up. It was really hard, but I'm really glad that I didn't. Obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So now you're moving to Pittsburgh. Is there anything that you're actively doing right now to help that move be smoother with booking clients and everything? And like, how far in advance are you going to, like, do you be like, okay, now I'm moving to Pittsburgh. Now I'm switching over my clients to Pittsburgh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so pretty much the entirety of my business, I've always specialized in Pittsburgh.
Oh,
So
okay.
really not going to be a crazy transition. Like I said, this is my hometown. Word of mouth has been the biggest thing. I have at least 5 or 6 Pittsburgh weddings a year. So
Okay.
it's honestly not even going to be a rough transition, thankfully. Of course, there's still some nerves being a business, like relocating, but with how much I travel, this is honestly like better for me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I've always been traveling back to Pittsburgh anyway, so
Okay. Okay.
it's
So
it's
it's,
gonna be really nice.
yeah, for sure. For sure. It's nice that you kind of have like that word of mouth already built just because you
Mhm.
literally are from there, you know people from there. So it's a lot easier to
Yeah,
transition there rather than transitioning to like Florida where you don't know anyone.
exactly. Like I had nobody here, and somehow, some way, I still did it. I powered through the hardships.
Yeah. This isn't something that we chatted about before, but I guess I just want to ask you, like, how were you able to build like a photography community in Florida? Like, not just clients, but like other people in the industry, like even just friends. Like, were you able to build a community like that in Florida? And if so, how?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, right? Like making friends in a whole new place.
Yeah.
I just followed everybody that I possibly could, sent
Okay.
DMs. Hi, I'm new to the area. I love your work. We should collab sometime. That sort of thing. Really just being
Okay.
outgoing, putting myself out there, complimenting people's work that I loved, just being very interactive with people. That's super important. I feel like you have to engage
Right.
for sure, to make friends. So that's what I did for a very long time, and then slowly started just um, branching out to people more and like going to coffee meetings and just like little editing dates and stuff. But I have found such a beautiful little community here. I have a few really good friends that I've made that I'm like they're my ride or dies
That's cool.
here down in Florida. So I'm definitely gonna miss them whenever I leave. But yeah, you just gotta really engage with people.
Yeah. And like, I feel like a big thing is being genuine too. Like, I feel like a lot of people,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Like, if
like
you're gonna engage, make sure that it's genuine and purposeful.
yes, absolutely. Like you can't just like comment on people's stuff with the intention of like, oh, we're going to become friends, we're going to hang out because you just
Exactly.
can't have that expectation. Like it really just has to be like zero expectations. You just want to engage with them
Exactly.
just genuinely.
Yeah, exactly, and, luckily, I have been able to, like I said, find a really good group of people here that I feel amazing with and have become really good friends with, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I'm glad, and I'm glad that now you're moving somewhere that, you know, you kind of have people already, so it's going to, you know,
Yeah,
kickstart the process a little bit.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, you mentioned that you do a lot of traveling for your work. So I wanted to talk about that real quick and just kind of, I guess, ask you like, how did that come to be? Like getting travel bookings? What does that look like for you? Like kind of break it all down logistically for us.
Yes, SEO for sure.
Really?
SEO, I am definitely going to give the credits to that. SEO has really, really, really helped with grabbing clients from like all over the place. I feel like 2 years ago, it was mostly just traveling state to state, but over the past year, it has been booking internationally, and that has been so exciting. I have a wedding in Italy in about 4 weeks. That's my first time going.
Okay.
And I just booked England and Scotland for next year.
Okay.
And then I went to Mexico for the first time, went to Cabo, it was in July. It was in July. So the international stuff has been like pouring through, and that's where I've wanted to be for years.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like honestly, it's just been a lot of patience. And on top of word of mouth, I've noticed that a lot of my clients have connections to each other.
Yep.
On top of, Google SEO, and definitely Instagram again.
Okay. So when you mention SEO, like what are you specifically doing that's helping you get these bookings? Is there like specific things, strategies within your SEO?
Making sure that like my audience is being tagged. So with blog posts, making sure that it's, for example, um, let's see, you could say urban wedding at blank and blank location at this venue.
Yep.
So making sure that you're putting the location, the venue, so that stuff will pop up when they're looking at these specific things. Um,
Okay.
and then, Pinterest as well. Pinterest has been really awesome too. And you can kind of do the same thing on there as well, making sure that your keywords are very specific, and
Mm-hmm.
not just so like wide range, really niching down on a specific audience.
Okay. I see. I see. When you are doing like your blogging and stuff, is that something that you do personally? Do you hire it out or you do it?
I kind of a mix of both. So I will hire it out, but sometimes I will do blog posts just because I really love to write. That's
Okay.
kind of like an outlet for me that I really enjoy. So sometimes it's me, and then sometimes I'll outsource it.
Okay. How do you like balance all the things you have going on? Because you are like a mom, you are a business owner, like you're a person. Like, how do you balance wearing all the different hats in your life? Like, what does that look like?
Can I also just mention I have 4 dogs? I have
4 dogs. So
four dogs.
full time dog mom as well.
Full time, like a literally full time dog mom, and
Wait, that's actually crazy. That's so many dogs.
I know I have 4 dogs. One is a puppy, so it's yeah, it's a
Wow.
lot around here.
Yeah.
I really do think that it has been so important to find a really good flow. I am very big on my scheduling. I need to schedule out my days so that I can get everything done. Making sure that I stick to my deadlines that I set, being strict in that aspect, but also really sticking with my boundaries for sure. So, for examples, I will not edit on Wednesdays. That's like my middle of the week refresh, it's my reset. It's my day to really deep clean the house and just kind of fix up my environment so I can, you know, do my best during the rest of the week. Um, I really do think that setting boundaries is such an important part of being a business owner, especially if you are balancing a million different things. You have to make sure you're only responding to emails at a certain time and making sure that you're actually taking time for real self care. Making sure that I work out too is something really big. Um, I do CrossFit, and it's a really big part of my life. So making sure that I'm making time for the things that I love outside of my business.
Mm-hmm. So what does that like scheduling look like for you? I know you mentioned that you like schedule everything out. Like give me
Yes,
an example of like a day, like
day
let's
to
say a Monday
day.
or Tuesday. Yeah.
Well, this part of my life is a little bit easier right now because my daughter just went to kindergarten. So I
Okay.
have a lot more time. Before, though, during summer break, it was definitely a lot harder, especially with my daughter who wants to go somewhere like every single day. She
Mm-hmm.
would wake up and be like, Mom, where are we going today? Are we going to the zoo? Are we going to go to the science center? I'm like, girlfriend, I have to get a little bit of stuff done, and then we can go have fun. But I've always, as a mother, it is so important that I'm, making the time to make those memories with her.
Mm-hmm.
So that is whenever the boundaries really come into play. It would be like, wake up, have breakfast together, work for 2 hours, get whatever I need to get done, come like 11 a.m., me and her would go out for like 3 or 4 hours
Okay.
and do whatever. So that's what I did during the summer. However, now she's in kindergarten. She's there every single day for like 6, 7 hours. So my day has been wake up, take her to school, come back, go to the gym, take a shower, then hop into breakfast and getting all of the work done until I have to go pick her up.
Okay.
And dedicating the rest of my day to just strictly family time. So
Okay.
once I get her from school, phone goes off until she goes to bed, and then I resume my workflow.
Okay. And for your, I guess, like working, what exactly do you schedule like everything that you're doing in the workday as well? Like, are you scheduling 2 hours for editing, an hour for blogging? Like, or do you just kind of do things until they get done? Like, how
I
does
just
that flow?
Yeah, I just kind of make sure that I'm doing what needs to get done. So I'm big on the Notes app.
Yep. Same.
Yeah, I pull up that Notes app and I'm like, oh my God, wait, I need to send that email. So I'll just kind of type it in, make sure that I kind of prioritize them from like most important to least important, put the really important stuff at the top. I'll pull up that Notes app and I'm like, okay, here we go. Because
Mm-hmm.
my brain is scattered all the time. I'll be sitting doing something random and I'm like, oh wait, I need to send that email or I
Yeah.
need to do this. So the Notes app saves my life. So whenever
Yeah.
I'm working, I'm like, okay, get all that stuff done first, then hop back into editing.
Yeah. It's so helpful to have like a brain dump like that. Like my
Yes.
brain is very similar where things will just randomly pop in my head. And if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget it.
Yes.
So I will literally like brain dump all the things I have to do. Like I had a big long to-do list a couple days ago on Monday. And then like literally when it was all done, I was like, wow,
It's
this
such
is
an
great.
accomplishing feeling too.
Yes. And I'm like, now I can edit weddings that aren't due for weeks because I have everything done that I need to get done. But I feel like my brain doesn't work and function until all of those like little tasks are done. Like I feel like I can't relax and edit until like my annoying things are over, you know?
100%. 100%. I'm the same exact way. It's our
Yeah.
creative minds that just kind of run wild throughout the day when we're not even working.
It's so true. And you mentioned something about like needing like a good environment. Like on Wednesdays you'll clean to get your environment. I think that's like a really big piece in the creative like feeling almost and like the inspiration behind like every creative out there is your environment that you're in. I know personally, I've lived in like a bunch of different like apartments and houses and whatever, and if I don't have like a designated space to create, and if that space isn't like my vibe, like stuff just doesn't get done. Like, I don't know what it is. I'll sit down and I'll be like, I don't feel creative right now. So you
Mm-hmm.
really have to curate your space and make sure it makes you feel creative, but also that space needs to be clean. And then like this,
Exactly.
the same pours into like my dirty dishes. Like
Yep.
if I know I have a dirty pasta pot in the sink downstairs, I'm like, I need my kitchen to feel clean before
Yes.
I can like go and create. It's so weird like how it all works, but
100%. It's like if you have a messy house, it makes your brain messy.
yeah.
It really, really does. It's funny. You literally just said everything that me and my friend talked about on the phone yesterday morning. She called me and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh my God, I have to shampoo my dining room chairs. I need to shampoo the couch. I need to vacuum. I need to go and do this. I need to do that. She's like, wow, you shampoo things a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, first off, I have 4 dogs, but I'm like, it really helps me. It really, really does help me because everything smells good. There's nothing like lighting a candle and then going to sit down and get things done. Like,
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
to have that clean aesthetic space to make art. Honestly, you have to have it.
Mhm. The only thing worse than taking too many photos while you're shooting is getting home and then having to edit all of them. Here are some ways to speed up your editing workflow without losing any quality in your work. Today, I want to introduce Aftershoot Edits 2.0. You can experience the most consistent edits straight out of Aftershoot. One of my favorite things about Aftershoot is their upgraded white balance and exposure AI models. Even if your lighting varies during your session and you have a lot of drastic changes, Aftershoot's able to instantly fix any blown out highlights, murky shadows, and overall, this feature allows you to have balanced photos no matter what your lighting conditions were. Another way to speed up your editing workflow is by using AI masking in Aftershoot Edits 2.0. This feature allows you to selectively edit your images through masking. With AI masking, Aftershoot can automatically select your subjects and adjust them to really make them pop in your image. Another great way to save time while you're editing is to use Aftershoot's advanced cropping and straightening. This tool allows you to customize and select any aspect ratio, and it even automatically crops in your photos so that the focus is more on your subject. It also can automatically straighten your photo, which is going to save you so much time in the long run. Say goodbye to spending way too much time editing your photos and use Aftershoot Edits 2.0. Aftershoot has an exclusive offer for all Oh Shoot listeners, so go to the link in the description of this episode to find out more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and now back to the show. Something that has helped me a lot, I'm really big into outsourcing within my business, but then also like I've learned that I can outsource like in my life too, just like things that are annoying to me. So this is what a lot of people do, but I just discovered it this year, is like having someone come and clean my house. Not that often, like it's not like weekly or anything like that, but it's enough to where like those small things like dusting random places or cleaning toilets, like that's just like one thing off of my mental load. And I just always know that those things are clean so I can like focus on other things. It sounds like we're kind of like clean freaks a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Listen, though, I really have been wanting to hire somebody for that. And now you're just pushing me toward it again. It's like, it was something on my to-do list. Like, look for somebody to come and clean. And somehow I didn't look. I really need to look again because I need it. I really do need it. I do spend a lot of time cleaning.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was spending a lot of time doing it and I feel a lot more freedom in my schedule. And honestly, it wasn't as expensive as I was expecting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hear people say like, oh, it's so expensive. And when I looked into it, I was like, it doesn't feel that expensive. Also, I'm supporting like another business too, which was like big for me. Like I went with someone who only has one other worker, and like the main business owner is the one who also cleans all of her houses. Like I didn't go with some big like cleaning corporation in my area, like just someone like nice and small. And I, you know, like chat with her sometimes. I don't know. It just feels, it feels right, you know, and it's just one of those things where I don't love cleaning, and especially because you have so many dogs, I'm like trying to sell you. Let me get a referral code.
Oh, please. I need it. No, because it really is a necessity to work in a clean environment. It has to be. So okay. Well, I know what I'm doing when we hang out.
Literally, you've got a to-do list. Okay,
really
perfect.
Going to go straight to Google, trying to find somebody. I will call somebody today, I swear.
Okay, good. Speaking of like mental loads, I guess I don't really know how to perfectly segue into this, but you had mentioned like when we were chatting before, like just about wanting to dive into your mental health and like therapy and all of that. So I kind of just want to like give you the floor, and I know you have some things you want to talk about. So just like get on your soapbox, do your thing. Let us know what you want us to know.
This is like one of my favorite topics to talk about. Like I'm like sitting up, I'm like, oh my God, I'm
get
here.
the posture straightened.
It is one of my favorite topics. So I'm going to clap for myself real quick. I just graduated therapy a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I didn't know you could graduate therapy.
Everybody says that. Literally everybody says it, and I'm like, no, it's a real thing. Where's my diploma? Oh, it's up there. So I have my little diploma hanging on the wall. I don't know if this is a thing. My therapist made it a thing for me. Maybe I was just like,
love it.
I'm going to say I was just her favorite patient.
Right.
Absolutely. But I was in therapy for 3 years, and so much healing, so much time that went into therapy. But I'm really excited that I'm no longer with my therapist. I still go to her for little mundane things, but the trauma and basically managing mental illness is not resolved, but I am able to live a happy life now. I went through a lot of years of postpartum depression whenever I had my daughter. Let me just say, I also had my daughter in the dead winter in Alaska.
Oh,
That was a
wow.
big contributing factor
Because
for
it's
sure.
dark too, right?
So dark. She was a September baby, and it was like, starting to go into the darkness mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that was something that really contributed to postpartum depression. Um, my best friends in the whole world lived with me in Alaska. Not with me, but down the street. And honestly, without them, like I don't know how I would have done it without them. Like one of my best friends, she came to my house and just would vacuum. He was just walk into the house, grab the vacuum, go tell me go take a shower, go to the gym, and I would cry through it. It was so hard to do, but having people that loved me and cared for me really really helped, and of course my husband as well helped me get through it. I did not know that I was also struggling with bipolar disorder during that time. So
Mm-hmm.
postpartum and undiagnosed bipolar disorder are not a good combination in the slightest. When we moved to Florida, I feel like I had a little bit of a mental break. And I actually went to Alaska again just 2 months after moving here. I went to Alaska for 10 days by myself to clear my head. First off, I was struggling with missing Alaska and grieving that part of my life. Alaska was it was just my favorite place to be. So I lost it. And then I was struggling in my business. I was struggling mentally and I didn't really know what was wrong. So I took off and my husband let me go. He's like, you need to go on a trip. So I went on a solo trip to Alaska and I did so much journaling and found out, watched all these videos on like meditation and just like stress management. And at the end of that trip, I called therapy offices here in Florida and I found my therapist and I started therapy. And yeah, that was 3 years ago that I did all of that. Um, I dealt with a lot of PTSD, so I did a lot of exposure therapy, and that was pretty exhausting. But I did notice, after resolving a number of traumas, my brain just started to feel a lot better. Um, so yeah, I'm talking about all of this because I really do feel like creatives need to prioritize taking care of their mental health. You can't be the best business owner, the best creative if you have trauma clouding your mind. Also, if you are neurodivergent like me or you're bipolar like me, it's so hard to manage those things, but they can be managed. So being able to talk to somebody about coping strategies and even medicine, if that's the right path for you, it was for me. I'm medicated and happy as can be. Um, Making sure that you're taking care of yourself so you can take care of your business too. It is very, very important to talk about. And that's why I wanted to bring it up today. You have to work on your mind so that you can work on your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you can't, like, yeah, you can have a successful business, but like I feel like the success of your business kind of relies on like you as a person, like the state
Yeah,
that you're in. Like it's going to be so hard to like run a business if you feel like you don't even like have your own like trauma under control. You know what I mean? Like if you feel like there's other things looming in the background, like it's going to be really hard for you to like switch that off on like a wedding day. Like,
absolutely. I genuinely don't know how I made it through all of those years, like struggling that badly. I was like literally drowning in my mind every single day. I have no idea. That's a strong woman right there, but I have no idea how I did it, to be quite honest. But yeah, therapy literally changed my life. I mean, it saved me. It was
yeah,
the best thing that I could have ever done for myself. And I have such a clear headspace and it's such a beautiful thing, but it took a lot. It took a
yeah.
lot to get here for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really important for a lot of the listeners to hear. That's not something that we necessarily talk about a lot, but yeah, I think it's a really important topic that a lot of people should prioritize. I guess like a question for you, like, were there like exact things that you noticed shifted, or like were there like things that you struggled with in your business that you feel like are easier to do now because of going to therapy and kind of like healing your trauma?
100% would have to go back to like the boundary setting.
Okay.
Like pre-therapy me was just running around like trying to fit everything into one day, feeling like complete shit if like she couldn't get things done. And I
Mm-hmm.
was such a people pleaser. So it was like also back then, like I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to decline inquiries. I just didn't really know how to communicate in general
Yeah.
without that side of me coming out. So it was definitely a game changer for me in my business whenever I stopped caring about, people pleasing, whenever I really worked with the intention of creating things that make me happy.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then also I learned in therapy the beauty of boundary setting. And it took a really long time to learn how important it is, but that is like the one thing that I will always stress to people is making sure that you're taking care of yourself and make sure you're setting boundaries so you can thrive when you do work.
Yeah, absolutely. I literally love all of that. I
Thank
feel
you.
like you mentioning like creativity and stuff kind of makes me go back to some of the things you said earlier about how you feel like you're so like your art is so different. What you do is like very unique. I guess I kind of have a couple of questions on that topic if you're okay switching
Yeah.
gears. Um, talk to me a little bit about your creativity, like what it is that makes you feel like, I guess, like, how do you make yourself feel different, or like how, what am I trying to say? Hold on. like, like in the photos you create, what do you do to make your art more original and like your brand more original? Kind of like talk me through the importance of originality and all of that.
Yes. Okay, so here we're going to start with like the shooting process first.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know many people. I feel like you are probably one of these people because you are amazing. But I really do feel like the whole bonding with your clients is really what's going to help them open up.
Okay.
Um, being making sure that they can be vulnerable in front of you, making sure that they can trust you is like the number one thing. But in order for me to get vulnerable art, my clients also must be vulnerable with me.
Mm-hmm.
So just making sure that I take the time to really get to know my clients on a deeper level, making sure that I'm making the time out of my day to, talk with them, make time for a Zoom call here and there, and really just honing down on the entire experience, making sure that it's always A1 for them. So that when we do meet and we do make art, they are at such a comfortable point that they are willing to do all of the crazy creative ideas that are in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
On top of like always focusing on the connection. So really, really just getting to know their story, and going deeper than just like simple little prompts here and there. It's more so, okay, like say you have your couple together, they're snuggling up on the beach together. Really taking a step back and like letting them connect, is really, really big for me. Kind of throwing on my 70 to 200 and really giving them the space to connect, but giving them something to connect on. So, something that I really like to use, for example, is this one always makes me really emotional whenever I say it is, can you two look at each other and just kind of picture what life would be a year from now? And they'll start to giggle and like, oh my God, we're gonna have a baby or whatever it may be a year from now. And then I'll jump to 5 years. And then I'll jump to 10. And then I'll jump to when they're old. And those are the kinds of things that I will say and use throughout the session to really prompt emotion. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like every single time I use that one specifically, there's always tears involved. Um,
Okay.
so just making sure that I'm using such emotion based prompts and making sure that all of the conversation that I have with them is very emotion based for them, and also including their love languages. So keeping those in mind, because I obviously will ask that during like my questionnaire, is love languages. So really just keeping that in the back of my mind because if their love languages are being catered to, they will automatically kind of feel happier too
Yeah.
with their partner, more comfortable.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of how I work with the actual shooting process.
Okay. Quick question about that. If you have someone that, let's say, doesn't respond well to those prompts, I know you like probably in the process of doing Zoom calls and stuff, like you can pretty well like, field out people that might not
Yeah.
reciprocate well to that. But in the rare instance that you get to a point where you've done all your Zoom calls and stuff, you have a client in front of you, but you do these prompts and they just don't respond well. They're really awkward. Like, what do you do about that? How do you handle that? Because I could just see like a moment where that
Yes,
could be.
it is a rare thing to happen because I feel like I'm very transparent in how I work, even just like on Instagram in general. Everybody knows me as this like deep, emotional human being. It's so transparent, and I'm like always crying and like super emotional and whatever. That's just me. And I feel like I have such a beautiful client base that like all of them are all they know what to expect with me. They know. They just know. But it does happen. It 100% does happen, not often, but when it does, girl, I just got to resort to more traditional things. Like at that point, I'm like, okay, I don't want to feel like I'm pulling teeth to work this specific way. Yes, I want to work that way because that's where I thrive as a creative. But in the end, these people might not respond well to it. Some people are a little bit more awkward, and that is okay. So, all right, let's run around on the beach and just kind of play tag and, resort to that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Also to say, I don't just do the emotion stuff. Like that's a good bit of it, but like I want to have fun. I want to splash in the waves and I want to do piggyback rides and roll around in the sand. That's what I want them to do. But yeah, so it's a really good mix of all of that stuff. But yeah, whenever I do get those clients that don't respond well, I just kind of have to adjust to their needs.
Okay. Yeah. Like in the moment, you kind of
Yeah, something
gauge like,
you have to.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay. And I guess like on the topic of creativity, originality, kind of talk me through like why originality is so important to you. And maybe if you have a few tips for anyone listening that wants to work on that, what are some things that they can do to really hone in on that?
100%. I mean, you're going to be happiest long term in your business if you're staying original. It's not going to be a long lasting business if you are constantly comparing, if you're constantly wishing you were the other person. Um, and if you're just taking what somebody else is doing and just kind of changing a few words, you're not going to last as a creative, period, if you're living your life as somebody else.
Yeah.
Um, for sure. And it's okay to, find inspiration in other people's work and inspiration in even other people's websites and even the way that they work. It's a beautiful thing in this industry to find inspiration from each other. I think it's amazing. Copying, on the other hand, is just not, it's just not it. Um, yeah, so making sure that if you're listening, that you are taking inspiration, but you're not copying people, and making sure that you're doing everything you can to take the time and like find out, you know, exactly what you want to portray in your business. That could even go back into therapy, where it's like if you are having trouble with like self discovery. Um, I feel like if you're struggling with like self identity or if you're struggling with anything like that, you might struggle in your business identity as well.
Okay.
Um, so just kind of making sure that um, you're taking care of yourself.
I think it's hard when you are like seeing other people be successful. So like if there's like a certain photographer or artist that you really look up to, you're like, man, I really wish I was them. Like I love how they do things. I wish I was them. But the reason that you love their work so much is because it's so original, right? Like you
Yeah.
love what they do so much because it's so authentic to them. That's why you love it. So it's like the minute you start to do exactly what someone else is doing, you lose that spark and you lose that creative drive because at the end of the day, you cannot be unoriginal for too long. Like it literally becomes to a point where it's like you're not being creative in it. So I think like the main thing to really focus in on is just like the originality, the creativity, the inspiration that you feel. Maybe you draw that from other people, like in some areas, but making sure at the end of the day, it comes from your brain. And I've noticed that poses that I do or certain angles or certain edits that I do on my own are always the ones I'm most proud of and the ones that I love the most, like on my Instagram feed or whatever. Like those are the photos that I'm like, I love those photos the most because I did it myself. I had the inspo. I thought of it on the spot and I really love the way it turned out.
Exactly. And isn't the beauty of being a creative the originality too?
Yeah.
Like we are creatives. So use that creativity to your advantage. Stay authentic because that's when, like, just like you said, that's when you're going to love your art the absolute most is when you've created something that's authentic to what your brain was just naturally doing.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling, you know, having a little bit of a creative burnout, like most of us have, you know, just do what you can to kind of come out of that. Realize that, you know, just maybe keep looking for inspiration, but keeping in mind that like the authenticity is the most important part of the art making process.
Yeah, totally. So I try to ask every guest this at the end of their interview. And I didn't prep you for this, but hopefully you can just come up with something on the spot.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I try to ask everyone like their craziest moment in photography, like a crazy story, something crazy that happened to you while you're shooting. You got something?
Oh, yeah. I already have like 2 things, and now I'm trying to choose.
Okay. Yeah. Tell us like the best one, like whatever you think is like the most.
Let's go in like a theme. Do you want something funny or inspiring?
Let's do funny.
Okay, funny. So, oh my God, I'm visualizing it and it makes it so much worse. There was this time that I was on this boat dock and, you know, taking pictures of the bride and groom coming off of this beautiful boat, right?
Absolutely.
One of the groomsmen literally just starts walking towards me on this dock, right? Turns to the side, whips it out, and just goes pee in the water. I saw it all. And I was like, oh my, like, I couldn't even speak. I couldn't even react. And then all I saw was the groom. And he was like, you have to stop doing that everywhere we go. I was like, what do you mean? Like everywhere you go. It was literally
that is funny.
I was like, what? Yeah, no, he was blackout drunk. So
okay.
yeah,
it definitely doesn't
he does not.
It does not feel like that was the first time that groomsman has done that. Like
no.
Like that day around that friend group, like it feels like this is a common occurrence.
He had the whole hand up to the head, like super stressed, like you gotta stop doing this. Like
yeah. Well, can't you get like can't you get in trouble like an actual like I don't know what the term would be, but not like arrested, but can't you get like a ticket or something for that?
What is it, like public indecency or
nude?
Like I guess it would be nudity. Like
yeah, I think you get on like the like offender list or something.
Yes,
which is a really big deal. Like you don't want to be on that list.
Yeah, you cannot do that.
That's crazy.
Funny, but I was definitely a bit disturbed.
Yeah. I had an instance. This is not at all the same because it was like little kids, but I was like doing family photos and like everyone's like looking off in like one direction and like all laughing, and I look over there and there's the two ring bearers are both like peeing in a field like same direction, everything. And it was so cute because they're like, you know, 3 years old or whatever.
Kids.
I know, but then the I like looked at the bride and groom, was like, do you guys want me to take a picture of that? Like it's cute. Like they're literally both like turned away. And so I took photo and I just like put them in their gallery because I thought it was so funny that like these two little kids are just like,
that's
you know what I mean? But totally different vibes.
Cute. Oh, 100%. These are kids. They're so cute. Like, look at them. Yeah, no, that's adorable. Wait, there was also something really tiny. Oh my God. I was going to say something funny about another story, but I can't remember it now.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Oh no, it was
Well,
good too.
yeah, that's the worst. Thanks for sharing that though. That was
Yeah,
a good one for sure.
it was a really interesting time for sure.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So, before we wrap up, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, follow you, consume more content from you? Yeah.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, of course, at the Turning Page Photo Co. And then, you could just type that in on Google too. Facebook as well, facebook.com/the Turning Page Photo Co. And then my website is theturningpagephotoco.com. And I'll be waiting to hear from you.
Awesome. Do you have anything exciting coming up in your business that you want to share?
Yeah, I have a few things. So, I did mention Italy. I am literally so stoked for that. It's all I can
Yeah.
think about. I'm just really, really excited for those travels. Another really, really exciting thing for me is my favorite artist, singer. Her name's Lauren Sanderson, and I actually shot one of her concerts I think it was in March or May. Well, anyway, I am going to shoot her concert in Denver in November. So that's really exciting. And it's really cute to me because the first time that I met her at a meet and greet was at that same exact venue. And now I get to
Oh,
be on the other side photographing.
that's so fun.
Really, really exciting. And then, just a lot of little things coming up too that I'm stoked about. I get to go to LA in January, and I also get to shoot with her again, which is awesome.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I feel like this is my year of traveling, making connections. And also, I have been really thinking about starting a podcast.
Okay.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I definitely want to start one. So any advice is appreciated. I
I'm
do think that this is like a 6 month from now goal, not something
okay.
I'm
Okay.
focusing on right now, but maybe during slower season, it's
Hmm.
something I definitely want to hone in on.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, but it's really rewarding and really fulfilling. It's very
Yeah,
fun. I'll give you some tips when we sign off, you know.
absolutely. Yes, please
Can't
give me all of
yeah,
them.
gotta gatekeep a little bit. I'm
Yes,
just
I was just
kidding.
gonna say you better gatekeep.
I'm just kidding. I'm literally kidding. I feel like there's not much to share, but I can give you some technical details when we're
Amazing. I'm here
yeah.
for it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Sabrina, for coming on the podcast. It was so great to chat with you. I hope everyone listening has an amazing rest of their day.